Never follow a late-night customer out of the store. Hello, I'm Mark, and I work the night shift at a 24-hour convenience store. After what happened recently, I'm not sure I'll ever feel safe here again, especially around 3 a.m. It started a couple of weeks ago. Right around 3 a.m., when the streets were empty and silence filled the store, the doorbell would chime, and in he'd walk. A strange man, soaked from head to toe, his clothes filthy and torn as if he'd been walking through mud. He'd stumble over to the shelves, pick up the same 2 items, a bottle of water and a pack of hard candy, then come up to the counter. He'd always look right at me with tired, sunken eyes and say, "I need to go now." At first, I brushed it off as just another night shift oddity, assuming he was one of the many homeless people passing through. But it didn't matter what kind of night it was, clear, dry, or even windy, he always came in drenched, leaving puddles wherever he walked. The air would fill with a damp, rotting smell, like decayed leaves mixed with wet earth, and his clothes would drip with a murky brownish water that stained the floor in a way that never fully dried. After about a week of this, I got curious and tried talking to him. "Long night?" I asked, forcing a smile. But he didn't respond, just gave me that empty stare and mumbled, "I need to go now," then paid with a crumpled bill before disappearing into the night. As he left, I watched his wet footprints trail to the door, where they abruptly stopped just past the threshold. Over time, I noticed other strange things. Every morning after his visit, no matter how thoroughly I cleaned, I'd find muddy smudges near the counter where he stood. And when I'd take out the trash at the end of my shift, I sometimes caught a glimpse of him standing across the street under the dim streetlight, staring right at me. His clothes seemed to glisten with that same dark, oily water before he vanished into the shadows. One night, things felt different. He bought his usual water and candy, but his voice sounded weaker than ever, like a whisper close to my ear, though he was already at the door. "I need to go now," he repeated, almost like he was warning me. My heart was pounding as I watched him exit. Something in me snapped. I had to know who he was, or where he went every night. I decided to follow him. As he crossed the street, I slipped outside, staying a safe distance behind. He moved slowly, almost as if he were wading through water. His figure cast an eerie shadow under the flickering streetlights, bending and stretching in strange ways. I watched him take a narrow, winding path toward the edge of town. There, hidden in the shadows, stood an old, crumbling house that locals had long since abandoned after a flood tore through the area years ago. I'd heard stories about it, but never dared to go near it. I watched as he approached the door, moving silently, until he faded into the darkness as if the house had swallowed him whole. I felt a chill creep over me but pushed myself forward. The smell was stronger here, damp and rotten, the same stench he brought into the store. Through a broken window, I caught sight of a puddle in the middle of the room, dark and still, reflecting the faint moonlight. I heard a whisper, faint and chilling, echoing through the house, "I need to go now." My stomach turned, and I quickly backed away, trying to make sense of what I'd seen. I decided that would be the last night I'd let this man haunt me. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong, and I made up my mind to stop working night shifts. But on my final shift, just as the clock neared 3 a.m., I felt that familiar, heavy silence settle around me. Right on time, the doorbell chimed. He was back, soaked as ever, but his face was paler than I'd ever seen it, almost gray, his eyes hollow and lifeless. He walked to the counter, set down his usual items, and stared at me. This time, when he spoke, his voice was barely more than a whisper. "I need to go now." The lights flickered, and the room seemed to dim as he kept staring at me, his mouth still moving as if silently repeating the words. A deep, bone-chilling cold spread through the store, and I heard faint splashes, like waves breaking on a shore. I looked down and saw murky water spreading across the floor, reaching my shoes, soaking into the tiles. I blinked, and he was gone. No water bottle, no candy, just the doorbell echoing in the empty air. But the floor was covered in wet, muddy footprints, leading straight out of the store. The next day, I couldn't shake the horror of what I'd seen. A colleague told me that years ago, a man had drowned in that abandoned house after a flood had swept him and his family away. He'd last been seen leaving to get water and candy for his young son, but he never returned. I quit the night shift that same day. But sometimes, I still dream of that store at 3 a.m., hearing the doorbell chime and the words "I need to go now" echoing in the empty aisles.